Bro Talk 1000 here. In this video, I just wanted to review Top Rank's Relentless docu-series featuring the lead up to Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook. In this episode, they interviewed Terence Crawford. Andre Ward did a hell of a job with the interview. The editing was on point. Shout out to Top Rank. Shout out to Andre Ward. And shout out to Terence Crawford. You know, this was a very insightful interview. Usually, like I said in my last video, Terence Crawford is very dull. He's very just bland. And he still is. He still was. But you can tell he's a little bit more relaxed with Andre Ward because he's around somebody who he can relate to. You know, two of the best fighters in our generation. Hands down, point blank, period. So, he felt, you can tell he felt more comfortable. He was a little loose. He was kind of smiling a little bit more, but, you know, still had his stern demeanor and everything like that. So it was a good episode. If you didn't check it out, go ahead and check it out. I'll probably leave a link to it in the description box. But anyway, what stood out to me about that fight was, and they jumped right into it. You know, it didn't take long, but Terence Crawford said that in order to be great, he needs dancing partners. And I'm like, interesting. You know, the thing that made the golden era of boxing so great with Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, and Roberto Duran was that all those guys fought each other in a timely fashion, and they fought each other multiple times. We could have had that in this era. We could have had that. The last 5 years, 5 to almost 10 years now, we've had in the welterweight division, Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, right? Everybody is with PBC or Al Heyman. Terence Crawford, out of those that I just named, is the only one with Top Rank. So while all of the madness is going on, right, we have a whole cluster of great fighters. His contract, Terence Crawford's contract, was coming up with Top Rank, and he had a choice to go over to the PBC. But for some reason, he chose to be loyal to Top Rank and stay over there. So with that happening, you get network discrepancies. You get money discrepancies. You just made the fight. If a fight is not in-house, it's going to be harder to make. Duh. I'm like, how did you not know that? And then on top of all of that, you haven't even been fighting anybody. You have been promoted horribly. You are pound for pound the best fighter in the world to most people, but they let a guy with half as many fights as you come on your network and claim to be pound for pound king. And we're talking about Vasyl Lomachenko. So you should have knew what time it was a long time ago, and you should have got up out of there. And then that way you would have had several dance partners. So now we're sitting here looking crazy. Terence Crawford is not getting any younger. He's heading into the twilight of his career. He's still great. He's still, you know, I would still consider him prime. But he's getting up there, man. You know? So the whole round robins with, and it's not just Terence Crawford. I mean, We should have been seen Thurman versus Spence. We should have been seen Spence versus Garcia. These fights should have been happened. These fighters don't have any mainstream crossover appeal, a lot of them. To casual, to the everyday person, nobody knows these people. Nobody knows these fighters. Even people who watch boxing, you know, casuals, they're not as hardcore, they're not hardcore fans, but they don't know these dudes. They do not know, hey man, you know Terence Crawford? Nah, who's that? You know Floyd Mayweather? Oh, of course I know Floyd. Everybody know Floyd. You understand? Boxing is a very niche sport. So what these dudes should have been doing was getting these fights out the way, bro. Instead of trying to remain undefeated and build and let it marinate, you got Errol Spence over here getting into car accidents. You got Keith Thurman getting his ass whooped by Manny Pacquiao. I mean, shit happens. Shit happens, man. The only one out of all of them who's been seemingly fighting everybody is Sean Porter. You know? But it's sad because I really feel that Terence Crawford would beat most of them, would make great and exciting and memorable fights with all of them. And Terence ain't scared of nobody. I believe that in my heart, but the networks and promotional things, that's what happens. So basically, in the episode, Terence Crawford, he basically said, you know, I'm probably not going to be considered great in hindsight because I ain't have anybody to dance with. And that's true. At 140, his reign was great, but nobody's checking. Nobody knows. Nobody's checking for Victor Postal. You know what I mean? Nobody's checking for those guys down there that he beat up. I mean, they good to us, to the hardcore boxing fans. Those are great fights. He's great. You know, he's great to us. He is great. But in the grand scheme of things, when it's all said and done, majority of people are going to be like, Terence who? Unless you know him. Like, unless you're like a hardcore, and you don't have to be a hardcore, but, well, yeah, pretty much, yeah, you do. You do. Just being honest, man. So, I respected that aspect. I respected him being honest. You know what I'm saying? That was cool to see that he was like, you know what? I'm never probably going to be considered great because I didn't have those dance partners. Listen, man. Tommy Hearns took losses. Marvin Hagler took losses. Sugar Ray Leonard took losses. Muhammad Ali took losses. Manny Pacquiao took losses. Lennox Lewis, if I didn't say that already, took losses. All of these guys took losses. Mike Tyson took losses. And these guys will always be remembered as great. Being undefeated, and especially being undefeated by maneuvering your career and ducking this person and that person, that's not the way. Just to try to stay undefeated, that's not the way to greatness, in my opinion. It's not the way to greatness. You'll look back and say, oh, this dude, he lost the fight. He got 2 losses, 3 losses. Oh, he's a bum? No, this dude is legendary. You know? And a lot of times, well, I don't want to say a lot of times. I don't really know, man. I don't know if it's the fighters, and I don't know if it's the promoters or the networks. I don't know what prevents these fights from happening. But, I mean, they got to get it together in the sport of boxing, man, so that we can, you know, we can, see good fights as boxing fans. Because as boxing fans, man, we accept a lot of bullshit. Like, we accept a lot of bullshit. And it's like we're all they got. You know what I'm saying? We are all the fighters got. All they have is the fans. You know what I'm saying? And when they get to a certain level, then it's like, I'll forget about the fans. Now I'm doing what's right for me. And hey, understandable, you know. You got to do what you got to do to feed your family, man. But hey, it's your legacy, man, your career. But I just hope these guys get it together. But anyway, in summary, very good episode. I encourage y'all to watch it. I'll leave a link in the description to the video below. But y'all let me know what you think about that episode if you saw it. Or let me know what you think about Crawford versus Brook. All right? Pro Talk 1000, and I'm out.